Okay, hopefully I've gotten the dog to shut up and stay quiet. Let's get back to this. So again, as I was saying, looking at this, your reader's going to want an answer. She never answers it. She goes on to describe the guy Gasket who owns the place. She describes people who come in and out getting tattoos. Actually, she does a pretty decent job of describing after that. But the problem is, she never answers this. This has become the main point of interest, though, for the reader. They're looking for that answer that never shows up. Remember your purpose. Her purpose was to describe. Therefore, the sentence does not belong. It should be taken out. If she's going to leave it, then she better answer it. Okay. Now, our first problem is she says it's a typical tattoo establishment. If you've never gone to get a tattoo, if you've never been to a tattoo place, you have no idea what it's like. And there's no such thing as a typical tattoo establishment. Typical's a dangerous word. Beware of things like that. Typical means different things to different people. It's based on what we know and what we're familiar with. So if you've been to a tattoo place, that becomes your vision of what a typical establishment is. But I've never been to a tattoo place. I tend to picture something like this one over here on all the way to the right that's kind of sleazy and dirty and nasty, and God, it's probably got cockroaches crawling around on the ground, and you got these guys with 8-foot long beards and tattoos all over their bodies, and they just look scary. I've got 3 knives in my pocket right now, ready to kill you if you give me a dirty look. That kind of guy. Yeah, that's what I would picture. But there's all kinds of places. Look how clean and beautiful this one is. This one, not quite as awesome, but it's still not as scary as what I was describing. So you just never know. What does typical mean? It's a vague word. Be specific in your descriptions. She says it's reminiscent of the 1970s. Well, what the hell does that mean? Were any of you alive in the 1970s? I somehow doubt it. I was. I grew up in the 1970s. 1970s, wood paneling was very popular. These weird patterns on your furniture, very popular. Weird shaped furniture, very popular. Also weird shaped lamps. It was pop art. You were like trying to be mod with really goofy, weird stuff. Oh, and a lot of people wrapped their furniture in plastic so it wouldn't get messed up. And when company came over, they took the plastic off, and people sat on it. Oh, you have such a lovely home. They left, you quickly wrapped everything back up in plastic again to keep it nice. 70s was a very weird time. But if you didn't live it, how are you supposed to know that avocado green and Harvest Gold are the popular colors for the 1970s? You don't. She talks about Polaroid snapshots. Now, I've heard that Polaroid is coming back into fashion, but there was a time where you couldn't get a Polaroid camera. Polaroid cameras give you instant pictures. Yay. There was a time when all you had were regular cameras where you took a picture and you had to wait till you finished the roll of 24 shots. Then you took it to your film place and they developed it and you got it back. Could be a month after you took the first shot or longer. And then you saw if your pictures turned out okay or not. And half the time, half your pictures were ruined. People blinked. It was out of focus. It wasn't quite the shot you wanted. So Polaroid was nice in that you got an instant picture to see if it worked or not. But problem with Polaroids too is that they fade over the years. So you may not know what a Polaroid is. She has to explain these things. A Davenport, turns out, is just a name for a couch. The first couches were made by a company called Davenport and Company in Boston. So that's why they're called Davenports. Any kind of couch is a Davenport. So why the hell didn't you just say couch? There's a green couch in here. And give us a better description, because we all know couches come in all sorts of sizes and shapes. What kind of couch is in here? An obstetrics table. Now, ladies are familiar with these. It's where they go to get their female parts examined by a doctor. To me, when I think of going into a tattoo place and I see an obstetrics table and a dentist chair, I'm a little nervous. This does not put me at ease. How many of you like going to the dentist? You sickos. Yeah, and women do not like going to see the obstetrician to have their lady parts examined. It's not comfortable for those guys out there who've had themselves checked by the doctor with the rubber glove. Yeah, it's sort of along those lines. So, yeah, this is getting creepy. And then she talks about the sterilizer. What is a sterilizer? I originally just thought it was a glass jar full of like alcohol, like when you go to the barber or the hair cutter, hairstylist, and they have that jar full of combs that they're disinfecting. I thought it was like that. No, it's really a fancy machine that the needles go in and it chugs and puffs out steam. It goes on for a while, sterilize the needles. And actually, from what I've heard, tattoo places don't even have these anymore. They just throw away the needles and use brand new ones. So there's not even a need for a sterilizer anymore. And the freeze-dried turtle. What the heck? Why do we care there's a freeze-dried turtle in the middle of the room? What does that add to this picture? It's another thing that creeps me out, like the dentist chair and the obstetrics table. Welcome to my tattoo place. While we're tattooing you, maybe we'll freeze dry you too. We'll strap you down to the table, and you are mine. Yeah, I don't understand. You've got to think about what the purpose is to the things you are saying. You just don't plop it in there. Yeah, there probably was a freeze-dried turtle in the middle of the table. But what purpose is it serving your piece? When you're doing a descriptive piece, yeah, you could go on for pages describing every little detail of the room. But what you really want to do is focus on those things that are bringing your reader towards your purpose. What feeling did she want you to get? And I think the feeling she wanted people to get was that it's not creepy to go to a tattoo place, that you should feel comfortable going, because the rest of her essay talks about, oh, a middle-aged lady comes in to get a tattoo and she thinks, oh, this is so wonderful, and there's a young girl getting a belly tattoo, and there's a young couple comes in, and these are not creepy guys who are coming in off the wharf. They're not thieves and burglars. They're not murderers. They're not drunken sailors out on a binge weekend. They're normal people. These are average, everyday people you would encounter in the street. So why are you putting in details here that creep me out? Okay, if you want to talk about the fact that there's an obstetrics table and a dental chair, explain to me why he would need these things, that they're not instruments of torture. She even goes on to say that it looks like a normal everyday office. How many normal everyday offices have obstetric tables and dentist chairs in them and freeze-dried turtles? It's just, you gotta think about what you're doing here. You have to go back and reread and see, what message is this sending? How is my audience going to receive it? Or are they going to understand what I'm talking about? So these are all things I want you to think about when you do your writing in the future. Okay, and I believe that's it for that one. So we'll tune back in. God, the phone. We'll tune back in a moment to discuss your actual assignment.